Good evening and welcome to the evening news. I am Kayode Adebayo. Senator Ademola Adeleke has declared that he is still the governor of Osun State. In a statewide broadcast on the judgment of Osun State Election Petition Tribunal, Governor Adeleke says he has the right to appeal and that he had instructed his lawyers to appeal the judgment. Governor Adeleke said the claim of overvoting in the judgment of the tribunal's chairman was unfounded. According to him, the judgment is clearly a miscarriage of justice, while stating that the mandate given him by the people remains valid. Governor Adeleke expressed optimism that he will be triumphant at last. He therefore called on the people to remain calm and go about their normal activities. The governor of Osun State, Senator Ademola Adeleke, has described the judgment of the governorship tribunal as a miscarriage of justice. In a release by his spokesperson, Malam Olawale Rasheed, Governor Adeleke vowed to challenge the ruling at the Court of Appeal. Governor Adeleke faulted the resolution of the overvoting question in favor of Mr. Oyetola, calling it an unfair interpretation against the will of majority of voters. While urging his supporters to remain calm, Governor Adeleke vowed to appeal the judgment at the Court of Appeal, insisting he remains the rightful winner of the July 16 governorship election. He expressed his conviction that justice will be done at the end of the day. Meanwhile, Osun State government has called on the people of the state to continue to go about their lawful businesses regardless of the split of the election petitions tribunal. The spokesperson to the governor, Malam Olawale Rasheed, made the call while reacting to the judgment. He said the governor has appealed the ruling and filed for a stay of execution. He speaks further. Normalcy seemed to have returned to Osogbo, the Osun State capital, following the protests that broke out as a result of the judgment of the Election Petition Tribunal that overturned the victory of Senator Ademola Adeleke at the July 16 Osun State governorship election. Some residents of the state converged at the Olaya flyover bridge, Osogbo, describing the judgment as unacceptable. Similarly, some residents equally gathered at Igbona Junction to show their grievances about the outcome of the judgment. OSBC news crew went through some areas in Osogbo, the state capital, including Ojaoba, Olaiya, Okefia, Old Garage, Igbona, Ayetoro, among others, and observed that residents were going after their normal businesses. However, it was observed that men of Nigerian police were specifically stationed at the Igbona Junction to ensure that there is no breach of public peace. It will be recalled that prior to the time of the tribunal delivered the judgment, the police had issued a statement assuring people of Osun adequate protection of lives and property before, during, and after the judgment of the Election Petition Tribunal. Ahead of next month's general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission says it has concluded plans to conduct a mock accreditation of voters across the country. Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, disclosed this at a meeting with resident electoral commissioners from the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja. According to him, the mock accreditation exercise, which will take place in about 436 polling units across the country, is aimed at testing the readiness of the bimodal voter accreditation system. Yakubu said the Commission is ready to conduct field tests across the country involving actual voters with BVAS machines. The mock accreditation will hold next Saturday in 436 polling units nationwide, as 12 polling units have been designated in each state of the Federation and 4 in the FCT on the equality of the country's 109 senatorial districts for the exercise. According to the INEC chairman, a comprehensive list of the polling units, including their names and code numbers, as well as their distribution by state, senatorial districts, and local government and registration area, will be uploaded to the Commission's website anytime soon. 4 days to the expiration of the deadline set by the Central Bank of Nigeria for the old 1,500 and 200 naira notes to cease from circulation, deposit money banks have taken extra security measures to prevent angry customers from attacking their branches and destroying facilities. Customers have continued to besiege bank branches in different parts of the country in attempts to withdraw new notes for use, including the weekend, and deposit old notes so that they will not be caught napping as Tuesday's deadline approaches. Reports indicate that most of the customers were disappointed as they could not make withdrawals through the automated teller machines, as most of the machines had been shut due to non-availability of new notes, while the few ATMs that were dispensing cash had long queues of desperate customers. Similarly, security guards at bank branches had a hectic time controlling the surging crowds making attempts to enter the banking halls to see if they could withdraw new notes over the counter. The situation almost degenerated into a free-for-all in some of the bank branches as customers complained of waiting in queue for hours without being allowed inside the banking hall. It was observed that the lender had taken extra security measures to forestall attacks on its facilities by hungry customers who were unable to get new notes. The federal government has disclosed that the country lost about $6,681 billion to the 2022 flood. The federal government also noted that though the 36 states, including FCT, were affected by the flood, the worst affected states are Jigawa, Rivers, Taraba, Cross River, Delta, and Bayelsa. The federal government also explained that it deployed technology to assess the impact of the flooding incident instead of relying on post-disaster needs assessment, which would have taken about 6 months to conduct. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Farouk, disclosed this in Abuja during the presentation of the Global Rapid Post-Disaster Damage Estimation Report of the 2022 flood. The minister also explained that the objective of the Great Night developed by the World Bank's Disaster Resilience Analytics and Solutions team is to assess the economic impact of the June-November 2022 Nigeria floods. About 165 million Nigerians, representing 84% of the entire Nigerian population, currently need treatment for one or more types of neglected tropical diseases. According to Nigeria NTD's Economic Impact Study, which was commissioned by the Hand of Fund and conducted by Deloitte Nigeria, the Nigerian economy stands to reap $18.9 billion from its citizens and increase productivity if NTD elimination is achieved by 2030. Speaking with journalists at the 2022 World Neglected Tropical Diseases Day Town Hall meeting in Abuja, the End Fund Senior Director of Public Affairs for Africa, Oyetola Oduyemi, observed the outbreak of COVID-19 in 2020 brought about some disruptions and significant setback to the fight against NTDs in the country. Oduyemi explained that the treatment that should have been delivered to the people were disrupted by the outbreak of the pandemic. She explained that the number of Nigerians that during the year 2020 was about 120 million, but with the growth in population coupled with the inability to sustain treatment during the early stage of COVID-19, the number increased to 165 million. Now to sports. Kenyan road runner Betty Wilson Lempus has been banned for 5 years from competing after being found to have twice violated World Athletics anti-doping rules. Lempus, age 31, is best known for smashing the Paris women's half marathon record on September 5, 2021, the date that a sample she gave tested positive for the banned metabolite tramanolone. She then falsified medical documents to explain the presence of the metabolite the Athletics Integrity Unit found in the report. The AIU said Lempus has been disqualified from the Paris Half Marathon and all races since. Now to the foreign scene. The United States military has carried out an operation that killed a senior ISIL leader in northern Somalia. A statement by Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said the U.S. designated ISIL leader in Somalia and key facilitator for ISIS global network, Bilal al-Sudani, was killed in the operation. It added that the operation was approved by President Joe Biden earlier this week and carried out on January 25. Austin said al-Sudani was responsible for fostering the growing presence of ISIS in Africa and for funding the group's operations worldwide, including in Afghanistan. There were no other details about the operation given, including how the U.S. forces carried out the operation or even how many American soldiers were involved. And that ends the evening news on OSBC TV. Please join us at 7 for major reports. Good evening.